everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on chapters 46 and 47 of Volume 2 of Heaven Official's Blessing. The last two chapters were really good. There was a lot. When I was telling in the Discord, people were like, you're only reading 2 chapters, and then I did the video for chapters 44 and 45, and somebody was like, you got 2 hours of discussion out of 30 pages. I was like, I know, right? So, yeah. I know there's going to be a few chapters coming up that are going to be, I think next week I'm going to be doing chapters 48 through 50. So there's going to be 3 chapters in that one because it's one big section. I think that's right. Let me double check real quick. Yeah, I've got 46 and 47, and then yeah, next week's going to be chapters 48 through 50. So yeah, 2 to 3 chapters, I think that's enough. I think we're getting through. It's going to take us a long time to get through Heaven Official's Blessing, but it is worth it because the story is dense and there's a lot going on. So in our last set of chapters, things got off the rails because we found out that our sweet cinnamon divine bun could possibly be an ancient evil Goshi that killed an entire royal family, and now the only surviving member is seeking revenge. No big deal. No big deal. And it seems like they've literally left it in Jun Wu's hands of what they're going to do, because Long Chanchu wants to duel Xie Lian. Xie Lian's like, I'll kill you if you do. And everybody's like, Jun Wu, what you going to do? And it's like, it's just chaos. Absolute chaos. And I did not see it coming. Did not see the Fang Xin thing coming at all. But I do have a couple notes before we start this chapters. I have a couple notes from people on Patreon and Discord. I'm very excited because last week we did not have a Manhua chapter to read, but this week we do. Chapter 83 is out, so I'm really excited. So we'll get to talk about chapter 83. I'm assuming it's going to be about Xie Lian and the Windmaster underground. We're going to backtrack and go back to that, but I'm curious to see what all Star Ember chooses to draw. But I'm excited we get that chapter this week. Pretty good, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about the notes that I've got here. The Ms. Nadia talked about Xie Lian's character taking inspiration from the founder of Buddhism, which I thought was really cool, and gave the name Siddhartha Gautama, and kind of said, had a big nice post about just kind of the origins of Buddhism and how it ties to Xie Lian's character. Makes perfect sense, right? And then Kixkay talked about how Xie Lian's lines about maintaining peace. And so I thought that in being unmoved, maintaining peace at heart and being unmoved by wins or losses while he was in the gambling den, that quotation, saying that you can maintain peace of heart and be unmoved by win or losses, and as long as that means you don't have to totally avoid things. It was a much more realistic upgrade, is what Kixkay was saying, from the quotation we see at the start of the novel, where Xie Lian on the bridge after defeating the monster says, body and abyss, heart and paradise. And it's like, yeah, that whole line, body and abyss and heart and paradise, it's a very kind of pretentious line now that you look back on it from the very beginning, because it's like, oh yes, I may be, my body may be in the midst of all this evil, but my heart is pure and full of justice. And Xie Lian now is like, well, no, that's not realistic. That was my naive 17-year-old self thinking that that's how the heavenly realm works and that's how godship works. And no, the idea is that no, you can maintain a peace of heart and be in the midst of chaos and just keep a steady and realistic ideology, but you have to understand things for as they are. And it's like, it's a much more wise upgrade to that phrase, that he says as a young man. So I thought that was really cool, Kixkay, that you pointed that out, because yeah, we are getting a much more complicated and layered look at our main character, and realizing that not only his memory loss has been a signal, or his, the fact that he can't remember everything, he picks and chooses what he remembers, that's kind of like has led us to believe he's an unreliable narrator. But this whole thing with Fang Xin is like, oh, Xie Lian may very well be a very unreliable narrator. So what do we do with that? And so MXTX and their unreliable narrators as protagonists, what can we do? But I thought that was really interesting, right? Sarah Linda talked about Ming Yi and the Windmaster, and a few others commented too, but I read Sarah Linda's comment first, that their ship name is Beef Leaf. And I was like, yes, Beef Leaf. Okay. I remember in the Discord, some people were using emoticons to like make shipping things because they didn't want me to know what the ships were called. So they were just doing little emoticons. And there was a little piece of meat and then a leaf emoji in the Discord. And I was like, what is that? And beef leaf makes sense now. But yeah, we were talking about Sarah Linda's like, I guess beef because cows, earth. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. If you think Taurus, it's an earth sign. It's a cow. I could see that. I mean, otherwise it's like, how do you differentiate earth from foliage? So that part makes sense. I like it. I like beef leaf. Apparently Fang Xin, Feng Xin and Mu Chen are called Feng Xin. That's their ship name. I'm very curious to see what we get with that. And then Emily M. talked about how a nice way to pronounce the Windmaster's actual name, because I've been calling them the Windmaster because I was like, I don't know how to pronounce their name properly. But Emily M was like, oh, you just say Qing Shan. And I was like, Qing Shan. We have Chan Chin and Qing Shang. I may still call them the Windmaster because we have Lan Chan Chin and then we have Qing Shan. So I may still call them the Windmaster, but at least we have Qing Shan as something, right? And then Anime Annie talks about how Hua Cheng trying to spoil Xie Lian, kind of like Jun Wu. Again, you have Jun Wu getting the palace for Xie Lian, making him seem all welcome back in the heavenly realm. You have Hua Cheng setting out this big grand feast for Xie Lian, getting him an armory. You know, they're both trying to court Xie Lian, it seems. And Xie Lian's just like oblivious to all of it. It's great. But yeah, I also like that Xie Lian left those old vices behind. Like, he's not interested in the palaces. He's not interested in the big feasts. He's used to crawling in the mud and being a scrap collecting god. He's atoning for his sins, seemingly. He just doesn't care about that anymore, except for swords. a sword. He is a sword geek through and through, and he's totally fine with that. So there is that to be said. But also, Anime Annie talked about how Xie Lian's cultivation, the way that it's phrased, it's not only cutting him off from all physical intimacy with others, but the way Anime Annie phrased it was self-love as well. Meaning Xie Lian's not watching any porn. He's not masturbating, basically. It's a hands-off environment for Xie Lian. And I like that, knowing that, rethinking about that section of the book and the way the Hua Cheng was like, really? I love that. I like Hua Cheng being like, okay, 800 years, huh? So yeah, I thought that was really good. And then finally, SQQLBH314 talked about how if Xie Lian is in fact Fang Xin, again, I said 90% chance he is, and he's atoning for his sins now, which I do think, before we start this, my theory is, I do think that Xie Lian is the Goshi Fang Xin, but is he the same individual that murdered all of Long Chanshu's family? That I'm not certain. If he is, I want to know the reason. But if he's not, I'm curious. But anyway, if it is true that he is Fang Xin, or Fang Xin, then Banyu's reputation, it kind of runs in the family, right? It's like, oh, look, daddy's little Goshi. It's like, so yeah, I thought that was very interesting. But yeah, we are not even halfway through this book. We're not even halfway through this volume. I think after this section, we will be at the halfway point of volume 2, which is insanity to think about. That we're on volume 2 for quite a while, and it's not the longest volume. So I already know volume 3 is longer. So it's like, we're gonna be reading. I pre-ordered volume 6 and 7 yesterday. Because I was like, I saw Barnes & Noble was like, would you like to go ahead and pre-order? I'm like, yes, I'm just going to go ahead and pre-order volumes 6 and 7. But they're not coming out until like April and June of next year. Which, you know what? We may still be reading this by April or June. So, may work out great. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, I'm excited, y'all, to sit down and read this with you. I poured myself some juice. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. So, we are going to start chapters 46 and 47 of, I almost said Monazushi, of Heaven Official's Blessing. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Okay, so scrolling down here. Chapter 46, The Enraged Nan-Yang. Fist fight with Shan Cheng. What? Shan Cheng, we're getting him in here? We're getting Shan Cheng in here? Okay, all right. Everybody, nobody panic. What? How are we getting here? Okay. So they're getting on to Xie Lian for challenging Chan Chen, saying, it was like a request for banishment was because fighting him was beneath him. Pure bullshit. Oh. But Chanshu didn't think they were exaggerated at all. But he says his life doesn't matter. And he turns to Jun Wu again to ask him to banish him. Oh. Okay, so then the Windmaster, how's the Windmaster going to get into this? Okay, everyone here seemed to think His Highness spilt the blood of the Yong'an royalty for revenge. Yet if it was revenge, why did he let the Crown Prince of Yong'an, His Highness, go? Yeah, exactly. Logically, the one an avenger would want to cut down the most should be the Crown Prince himself. Am I wrong? Good on you, Windmaster, bringing some logic into this. Good on you. It wasn't that no one had thought of this detail, but no one had thought it necessary to voice it either. Wow, see, all a bunch of hypocrites. You were thinking it too, you just didn't want to say it. How about that? Now the Windmaster took the lead and some nodded their heads in agreement. Imagine that. His Highness and I haven't known each other for long, but I did see with my own eyes him fighting head-on against the scimitar Pei Ming in order to protect His Highness. If he regarded the Yong'an monarchy with hatred, why would he unnecessarily defend you against the blade? Exactly. I mean, Xie Lian, even if he's the one that killed his family, he's let it go. It's over. He's not out for revenge, right? Oh, but hearing that Xie Lian faced Pei Ming head on, Fang Xin and Mu Qing stared at Xie Lian. Oh, maybe he was just feeling guilty. But the Windmaster raised his voice. That was the weapon of misfortune, the cursed blade. So, I think this whole business is highly suspect. Good on you, Windmaster. I'm envious that His Royal Highness has gained the Lord Windmaster's friendship to defend him so. Pei Ming, what a bitch! Just coming in! Too bad our little Pei isn't as fortunate. You won't let it go! Let it go! Oh my god, Pei Ming! What? What? Oh my god. Don't muddy the waters! Oh my god. Can little Pei's case be compared? I saw him commit crimes with my own eyes too, and heard with my own ears the admission of said crimes. Oh, bitch, this ain't the same story! The tea being spilt, the watermelons ate. This is amazing. Isn't it the same as today? His Highness saw him commit crimes and heard him admit to said crimes. How is it any different? Oh, Xie Lian held him back! Yes! I'm in your debt, but please let this go. He hadn't thought of a good comeback yet. Oh my gosh, he only pointed at it, but no words came out. Like, it's like the cat meme. It's the cat meme where the Windmaster's like, how dare you? And Pei Ming is just over here like in his salad. Make this meme a thing. I will probably do that when I'm done with this. Oh my god, I'm going to write this down now. The cat meme. The cat meme with Xie Lian holding back the Windmaster from Pei Ming. Oh my god, I love it. I absolutely love it. And finally Jun Wu's like, let's just chill, y'all. Oh my god. It wasn't particularly loud, very serene, and yet everyone heard his words clearly and stood back. Very, very like just powerful big dick energy, right? Your actions have always been impulsive. When situations arise, one mustn't be rash. Listen calmly, assess, and then evaluate once you know the whole story. Oh, interesting. Shan Li refuses to give us that full story. So his request for banishment is denied. Oh, he will be detained in the palace of Shan Li and I will personally interrogate him afterwards. Oh my god, before then you two shan't meet. What? You're gonna have a private session with him? What? Jun Wu actually shielded Shan Li, the laughingstock of the three realms, who had no temples, no devotees, no merits. X vibes. Chanshu was the martial god who ruled the East. If he was unhappy with the verdict, then what a losing business. But Jun Wu chose to shield Xie Lian. Did that mean he was still very much in his favor? Oh my god! Many of the officials now saw where the wind was blowing and decided mentally that from now on they wouldn't publicly mention the words laughingstock of the three realms. Oh! Qingshan let out a sigh of relief and loudly praised Jun Wu for his wisdom, of course. Chanshu, on the other hand, only stared at Xie Lian intently. Whatever the Lord wishes to question, go ahead and question, but whatever the conclusion, I will still duel him. Not backing down! Oh! And so he left. Okay. Oh, and they came forward to take Xie Lian away. Oh, as they passed by the Windmaster, he spoke in a soft voice. Lord Windmaster, thanks for everything. But if you must help me, don't say any more on my behalf. But can I ask you to do 2 things for me? Oh, okay. He still felt bad about fanning the fire that burnt down. So yeah, he wanted to pay back his debt. Whatever you need. The boy I settled in the side chambers. Please take care of him. Nothing I can't do. What's the second thing? If Journal Pei still wants to make things difficult for Banyu in the future, please help her out. Of course. I won't let Pei Ming get his way. Where is she? I've hidden her in a small pickle jar in my Puchi shrine. If you have the time, please air her out sometimes. Oh! After thanking the Windmaster, the 2 heavenly officials brought Xie Lian to the palace of Shanli before courteously excusing themselves. Oh, thanks for your hard work, he said, bowing his head slightly. Oh, so he left the Windmaster in charge of his children. Oh my god. Okay. Stepping through the front gates, he closed the doors. Even all the facilities were exactly the same as his previous palace. The last time he passed by, he didn't enter, never having guessed that this is the first time to step foot here would be due to detention. Not the best sign. Oh. He passed out immediately on the ground and dreamt of many things. He seemed to be meditating with his eyes closed. When he blinked his eyes open, he found himself sitting in a lotus position before his desk. His black robes flowing. Oh! In layers, and on his face there seemed to be a cold, heavy mask. When he lowered his head, the sight before him was of a young boy sprawled over the desk. The boy was 14 or 15, his attire distinguished, his form strumming with life, but fast asleep. Your Royal Highness. Oh, Goshi. You fell asleep again. Copy the ethic scripture 10 times as punishment. Master, please, no. Why don't you have me run 10 laps around the palace? Copy 20 times. Do it now and write neatly. The crown prince seemed to fear him and sat up properly to start writing. He then sat back in his original position and continued to meditate. Everyone in the palace was a little scared of him, but this sense of distance and oppressive power was created intentionally. Oh. However, this crown prince may be too young, so he can never hold that sense of fear for long. Oh, what is it? Oh, what do you want to learn? The technique you used to save me. No, the technique is impractical. At least it's unsuitable for one in your position. But isn't it convenient, using one sword to dissolve the power of 2? Oh, you saved me with that technique. That's the technique he used against him and Hua Cheng. Oh, Let me ask you a question. Once there were 2 people, eyes sunken red with hunger, and they started fighting in order to rob each other of food. In came a 3rd person, and he wanted to stop the fight. Do you think words would be effective? No, it'd be useless. They'd only want the food. They only want food, right? Because the root of the problem wasn't solved, no one would listen to your reason. The only way the 3rd person could stop the fight was to provide what they wanted, to give food from his own purse. The reasoning is the same. You must understand the moment a sword is unsheathed, someone will get hurt. When power is released, something must receive it. Oh. It is wrong for you to say I dissolved the force of the 2 swords. Nothing was dissolved. I absorbed their attacks. To stop an attack by hurting oneself is a foolish technique and only used when there are no other alternatives. You have no use for something of the sort. Oh. If the 3rd person doesn't have enough food, what should be done? If both of the hungry had gotten food but wanted more and fought harder because of greed and sought more food from the 3rd person, what should be done? What do you think? I don't know. Maybe he shouldn't have intercepted from the start. Oh, okay. Holy cow. Oh, Interesting. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh, the great hall was gold, everything golden, but it had become crimson. Oh, their throats pierced, their deaths tragic. His hand that held the sword wouldn't stop shaking. His eyes were red, filled with pain and hatred. Next to his feet was the dead body of the queen. His sword was in hand. He took one step and another and walked over. When the king raised his head and saw me, he was dumbfounded. Go, Xie Yu. Oh. He sensed something. The young crown prince was just outside the door, standing amidst the corpses of guards. Oh. Oh. He rushed to the king's body and his voice, Father, Mother. It was a long while before he heard his own voice, devoid of emotion. You all deserved it. Oh. Xie Lian didn't sleep well and rolled awake with a start. Oh, ooh. Ooh, so what in the world? What happened? Oh my God. Okay, so he did kill them. Okay. All right. Oh, he didn't dream of anything nice either. Something on his chest that poked him awake. 2 dice. A crimson silhouette, clear as day, watching him unmoving from within that sea of red. I wonder how much is left of San Long's Paradise Manor. If I get banished again this time, who knows how much junk I'll have to sell, or how long I'd take to pay him back. Decades, centuries, if anything, I'll pay him for the rest of my life. I'm sure he'd let you pay him back, but he wouldn't need it. Yeah, no. He looked at the dice for a bit before clapping his hands closed, shaking them in his palms and tossing them to the ground. They rattled and rattled before coming to a stop. As expected, the luck he borrowed from Hua Cheng was used up. It was only snake eyes. I couldn't help but laugh. Oh. He packed away both the dice and his smile. But the footsteps didn't sound like Jun Wu. Jun Wu walked with deep certainty, unhurried. Although Hua Cheng walked with nonchalance, often lazy, the aura of confidence and surety were exactly the same. Aha! Yes! Okay, all right. They were a little floaty. It's you. Clad in black, his face fair and his lips thin. His expression was indifferent, maybe even cool. He looked more like a civil guard. Who else? But it's Mu Qing! Okay! All right, so it's Mu Qing. All right, interesting. Who'd you think, Fang Xin? God, what a sassy snark! Fang Xin probably won't come after all. What are you doing here? The Emperor detained you and won't let His Highness Tai Hua come, but he didn't say I couldn't come. Oh, why are you here, though? He didn't bother answering the question. Whatever. Xie Lian wasn't curious anyway and didn't question him further. His eyes ended up on Xie Lian. Oh. It was a small blue porcelain bottle. It was a bottle of medicine. Dragging around a bloody right arm doesn't look good. Oh. After his third ascension, there could only be one word to describe the way Mu Qing treated him. Weird. It always felt like he was waiting for Xie Lian to get booted for the 3rd time so he could make sneering remarks. Yet now that Xie Lian might actually get booted for the 3rd time, he suddenly became very friendly and even came to gift him medication. He's what we call a tsundere. This 180-degree change in attitude actually made him feel a little weird. Use it if you want. Either way, no one else is going to come. It wasn't a smile without mirth. It was obvious that he was actually feeling pretty good. Although Xie Lian didn't feel his right arm was in pain, there was no reason to leave the injuries. Let them be either. That pat from Jun Wu was a quick fix, but it was better to have medication. Thus, he opened the small blue bottle and carelessly started pouring the contents onto his arm. What came out of the bottle wasn't powder or pill, but a light blue smoke. The smoke floated wildly, wrapping around his arm. Its scent cool and refreshing. It was certainly a high-grade item. Ooh, interesting. Was everything Chanshu said true? Did you really kill all those young and royals? Even if Mu Qing had been forcibly hiding it, he could see the thread of uncontrollable excitement. He was highly interested in the details of Xie Lian spilling blood at the gilded banquet. How did you kill them? And then someone else comes. Okay. And this time it was Fang Xin. Everybody just show up for this powwow, right? Of course, he immediately frowns when he sees Mu Qing. What are you doing here? Xie Lian waved a little bottle in his hand. Ah, he was just saying he wouldn't be coming, and then he arrived the next second. Not funny at all. This isn't your palace. What? You can come, but I can't? Oh. If the two of you came to ask the same question, then I will give you one answer. There's no need to not believe. Every word I said at the Great Martial Hall today was true. Fang Xin paled, and Mu Qing hated that expression and said in annoyance, "All right, put that face away. After everything, why are you looking so pained for?" "Not for you! Get out!" "Oh! And who are you to tell me to get out? Speaking as if you're so loyal. How many years did you last again? Didn't you run away too?" "Oh, they both came to defend him." "Oh. Oh no, hold it. As if Mu Qing was the type to hold it back. "Everyone says it was because you couldn't stand seeing your old master fall from grace. What a petty excuse. At the end of the day, you just didn't want to waste the rest of your days following a broken man." "The fuck do you know? Oh my god! He swung his fist! Oh my god! Oh, it was a standard pretty boy. A bashing punch from Fang Xin was like a persimmon smashed on his face, bloody and miserable. Yet he stood his ground, and without even a whine, he punched him right back. When the two ascended, they both obtained their own spiritual devices, yet at the height of their anger, the best tool to release their rage was their fists. Oh, they were so mad because they weren't there to defend him. After 800 years, they fought 800 years ago. Their martial arts were the same, and afterwards, there was still no difference. The brawl was messy and mad, each holding their own. Oh my god, what? This is insanity. Xie Lian cried, Fang Xin cried angrily. "Don't think I don't know your nasty thoughts. The more crimes he commits, the happier you become. I knew you always looked down on me. What a joke. Look at yourself. What right do you have to look down on me? The pot calling the kettle black." They hadn't even started. Long Chongqu and Xie Lian hadn't even started dueling, and Fang Xin and Mu Qing were already started brawling. Their grudges had been building for a long time. The fight was uncontrolled and riotous, each cussing at the other without hearing what was cussed back, and they certainly had no mind to hear Xie Lian what he had to say. He recalled back when the three of them were younger. Mu Qing had been soft-spoken and well-mannered, and if Fang Xin had hit anyone, it was all under Xie Lian's command. And he'd stop when Xie Lian said stop, but now neither was the case. Dragging his arm, Xie Lian ran towards the door, hoping to call for help from any nearby officials. But before he even stepped out from the main hall, there was a loud bang that exploded in front. Fang Xin and Mu Qing were also shocked by the noise and stopped, their eyes alert, looking where the sound had come from. The front of the palace of Shanli had been kicked open by someone. Beyond the door wasn't the expansive great martial avenue of the heavenly court, but a deep, deep blackness. And from within the darkness, innumerous chilling silver butterflies rushed towards them. What? What? What is happening? Okay. Hua Cheng, you showing up? What? Oh my god. Chapter 47, Raiding a Heavenly Palace. 3 lines to scare all gods. What? A silver shimmered turbulently, and without thinking, Xie Lian's first reaction was to block with his hand the ruyi on his arm. If the situation called for it, would attack automatically. Yet the silver butterflies never charged towards him. Instead, flew around him to attack the two behind who were fist fighting. Like, don't fight in front of a man! You're scaring him! Oh my gosh, they suffered before at the hands of those wraith butterflies and knew how powerful they were and didn't dare to be careless. They raised their hands at the same time and cried, "Shield!" The millions of silver butterflies jetted towards them, flapping their wings like blasted winds. Oh my gosh, they smacked against it like a thunderstorm, hailing and battering. White lights flared from the friction like sparks. The two had cast a spell to shield, but even against a magical shield, the wraith butterflies were forceful and endless, crazy like moths to flames. Oh, the relentless deluge of butterflies. A moment of carelessness and the enemy took the upper hand. If they didn't release the shield, the butterflies would push closer, and if they did, there'd be no chance for them to grab their weapons. They mentally swore, gritting their teeth to hang on. He took a glance and saw Xie Lian was standing where he was, his head lowered, and shouted to him, "Your Highness, don't stand there, come behind the shield." Yet when Xie Lian turned his head, not a single hair was harmed. He frowned, "Huh?" The two looked closely and almost spat blood from angry shock on the spot. Xie Lian had his hand on a wraith butterfly, looking rather confused. He was just like, "Hello, what? Are you guys struggling over there? Oh my god! fireflies were gusting through like wild winds. There was one that was a little slow and couldn't follow. It flapped with difficulty in front of Xie Lian, and he thought it worked really hard, and the poor little silver butterfly couldn't fly anymore, so he extended his palm just beneath it, and it landed on his palm, wings still flapping but refusing to leave. Don't touch that thing with your hand! Oh my god! He felt like tightening. He felt a tightening on his wrist. Someone had gotten a hold of him and pulled his hand. His entire person was being pulled into the darkness beyond the door. Oh my god! Although he was shrouded in the dark, he couldn't feel any alarm or insecurity. It was like a gentle armor. Not only did he sense danger, he actually somehow calmed him down a bit. Oh my god! Ah! This is amazing! Even if the person in the darkness hadn't shown himself, I mean, would it be hard to guess who it was? What impudence to come all the way to the heavenly court! What arrogance! We're all the same. Wasn't the upper court impudent in my territory? Oh! He was still a little startled. Hua Cheng, the heavenly martial emperor, is here in the heavenly court. You should let him go. Then let's see if you have the skill. And the door's closed! Oh! He could feel Hua Cheng holding him tightly with one hand, taking him to an unknown destination. It was all black around him, and the silver bells and the black boots clinged and clanged in his ears. And the ground beneath his feet was uneven. It really wasn't that bright. The glorious roads of heavens, but even more so, a wild valley. He must have used the distance shortening array to connect to the front gates of the palace of Shanli to some valley. But to connect to the heavenly court to somewhere else using the distance shortening array was no easy feat. At least only a handful of heavenly officials could do it. So how had he done it? He was about to speak when... Oh, Your Highness, where are you? Oh, it came from Fang Xin. His voice was in his ear, but his person was not. It was shouted through the communication array. Oh, yeah. Oh, asking questions in fright. What's going on, General Nanyang? Did something happen? Bad news, where's Ling Wen? Report to the Emperor. Xie Lian's escaped. Oh. What? I'll go to the palace of Shanli to take a look. So they're all talking in his head, and he's just like, I don't know where I am. And they're all like talking about him escaping in his ear. That's insanity. What? His Royal Highness, we're not calling him that anymore. Was he detained in the palace? I saw a bunch of middle court martial officials guarding the palace. You can only enter but not leave. So how do you escape? He didn't run away. He was kidnapped. Can you still hear us? Where are you right now? In that moment, everyone spoke, and they talked loudly, asking for answers. The mess of the Goshi Fang Xin and Long Chanchu hadn't even cleared yet. Jun Wu had detained him, but the person in question was gone. Wasn't this starting more problems and gossip? Either way, they must find the person, so Ling Wen rushed to check on the situation to see if she could locate him. And then Fang Xin and Mu Qing were yelling, looking for skilled martial gods to give chase. And the Windmaster released many more waves of merits. Everything's chaos! The communication array was in complete chaos, loud and tumultuous, to the point where Xie Lian couldn't even get a word in. He took a deep breath and was about to tell everyone to calm down, when Hua Cheng suddenly turned around and 2 fingers came forward. The cold digits gently touched his temple, and Hua Cheng laughed. Ha ha! Long time no see, how's everyone doing? Oh my god! He had entered the communication array through Xie Lian. His casual greeting was heard not just by Xie Lian, but all the heavenly officials hustling within the communication array, and they fell into a dead silence. Oh. Such arrogance. I don't know if you all missed me, but I haven't thought about any of you at all! There are many heavenly officials in the heavens who secretly thought about him every day, but hearing that Hua Cheng didn't think about them at all, they all chanted heavenly blessings. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please never continue to think of us. Then Hua Cheng snickered. However, I've been fairly free recently. If anyone is feeling bored and wants to tussle with me, by all means, they're welcome to. Oh, if anyone's brave enough to give me chase, I'll challenge them. Wasn't this a blatant threat? Oh. Earlier, when they heard Xie Lian ran away or was kidnapped, the communication array roared to life. It was, after all, a rare riot, and all cared deeply. Some martial gods were even ready to heed the call, prepared to give chase. However, with only 3 lines from Hua Cheng, all passion had disappeared. If Jun Wu gave command to send whoever to pursue, then it couldn't be helped. It'd be official business. But this was something that just happened. Everything was still a mess, so naturally no one wanted to bring trouble to themselves. No one wanted Hua Cheng to remember them, and they all pretended they weren't present, but their ears were attentive to the development of the situation, their hearts anxious and shaking. This crimson rain-sought flower was overly fearless. To come all the way to the heavens just to kidnap, and the kidnapped was the laughing stock of the three realms. Was there some deeply rooted grudge or what? Oh, Fang Xin continued to swear. Don't mind them. San Long. Oh, we're too close to the heavenly court. Let's hurry. His voice was low, but his tone was hard to discern. Yet letting go of Xie Lian's wrist was swift, almost as if he was shaken off. Because he doesn't normally like touching him, but he had to do the communication ray and to get him out of there. He was reminded of the first time they met and how he evaded his touch. He froze on the spot. He originally wanted to ask Hua Cheng why he'd appeared so suddenly. Oh, when he called out San Long, he was a little happy. But with how Hua Cheng shook off his hand, why did he think Hua Cheng would come to rescue him? Never mind thinking whether Hua Cheng cared to follow his actions that closely. He'd only just escaped the ghost sitter after setting it on fire. He came knocking for paybacks or revenge, more likely, right? Yeah, because he had caught and imprisoned and interrogated the Earthmaster who went underground as a spy. That was the undeniable truth. But the fault naturally lay with the one who went undercover, yet he snuck into the ghost city and burrowed all over Paradise Manor to find said person and set a fire. Oh. So he's thinking that he's thinking Hua Cheng came to, like, tell him off, right? He needed to take responsibility. The more he thought, the worse he felt, and the guiltier he became. San Long, I'm sorry. Why? I went to the ghost city to investigate the missing Earthmaster. I didn't tell you the truth, yet you treated me with utmost hospitality. Then I burnt down your Paradise Manor. I feel really bad. Hua Cheng didn't say anything. He also knew that I feel really bad didn't really amount to much and felt even more ashamed. But I reckon I'll be banished soon after I descend. I'll for sure think of a way to repay you. See if I could. Why do you have to repay me? Oh. Did you forget that my blade wounded your arm? I hurt you. Not the other way around. Why do you have to repay me? Oh. My right arm's fine. It'll be better soon. It only became like this because I rushed forward to strike, so you're not to blame. His left eye, unusually bright. He was shaking. It wasn't Hua Cheng that was shaking, but Pei Ming! Oh! That silver scimitar that hung upon the red robes was shaking nonstop. The eye, contoured by a silver line, was also trembling. If it was the eye of a child, then this child, at that moment in time, must be bawling with tears. Oh, no! Oh! That's it? Oh, my God! Okay! Oh, my God. Okay. Oh, my gosh. Uh-huh. Well, I'm gonna go read that Manhua chapter, and I will be right back. Okay. Okay. Oh my gosh. What were these chapters? Hua Cheng's like, don't worry, Xie Lian. I am not gonna leave you to just sit there in that tower and wait for your prince to come rescue you. No, sir. This is a fascinating development. A very fascinating development. And I know that Whiteboard Coon, the truck was commenting on the Discord for another series. They're like, Whiteboard Coon looks like he's about to, like, fall over on you. Whiteboard Coon has a little bit of a lean problem right now. So if my chair bumps him and it kind of leans, it's fine. But we're officially halfway through. Halfway through volume 2, that is. But God, these chapters, they went by really quickly. First of all, they seemed like they went by so quickly, but a lot happened in a short amount of time, and we got some insight into Xie Lian. Surprising me. I said in the last video that I was like, oh yeah, I'm 90% sure that Xie Lian is Fang Xin, and I stand by that, but I had faith in that 10% that he wasn't the one that killed their family, but he was. So he did kill Chu's family. But there's a lot of interesting things with Xie Lian under the surface, right? There's a lot of interesting things with Xie Lian under the surface that I feel like needs to be talked about in this chapter. And then Hua Cheng, we're going to talk about that and Jun Wu and then Fang Xin and Mu Chen and their interesting dynamic too in all this, and the silver butterflies. The silver butterflies, just the wraith butterflies literally killed me in these chapters. Oh my gosh. But 46 and 47. I did go back and look at the manhwa. I will show you all some screenshots from the manhwa. The manhwa basically didn't cover a lot of ground, chapter 83. So I'm like, okay, the manhwa's not... I've got a little worried in the last 2 chapters of the manhwa because I felt like Star Ember was like crossing over a lot of content very quickly. And it's not that I don't want the manhwa to be caught up to where I'm at, but there's so many cool scenes and things that I want the manhwa to draw. I'm okay with it taking a while to catch up to where I am reading the novel. That's fine. Even if I have to do like with Moda Zushi, I'm still waiting on them to finish the manhwa with Moda Zushi, and then I'm going to do a big reaction to that once it's all done. That's my plan anyway. So I'm still waiting on it, which is fine. And I'll probably end up getting that point with this series as well. That's okay. I'm just excited to get to that point eventually. So as we like trug through, it is cool. Because I know a lot of people said that Star Ember was probably going to take a break in between volumes, like until the Donghua is covered. So basically what'll end up happening is we'll have a lot of break and downtime and then a lot of time to catch up with the manhwa eventually. So that's fine. That's okay. Even if I have to do it on my own time eventually, that's fine. And just put kind of like what I did with another series and putting images on Twitter and stuff just to show everybody. But anyway, the manhwa covers basically Xie Lian and the Windmaster, Qing Shan, going outside and kind of investigating and starting like rolling the dice with the statue. And then the chapter kind of ends with them falling into the pit where the worm is. That's where it goes, right? So it is a really cool chapter. The artwork's really nice. I do love the expressions that Star Ember gives the Windmaster in the form that he's in. It's really cute with like the goat ears and everything. It's adorable. But yeah, it's really good. And then of course Xie Lian's just drawn beautifully throughout the whole thing. So I thought that was a good manhwa chapter. It was a good update for the week. I'm glad that Star Ember is taking their time to expertly go through these events, because when they get to this part here, I'm gonna be like just ready, right? And I'm sure that y'all are like, I love that somebody in the Discord, they were like, you're freaking out about this part of the book? We're only in volume 2. I'm like, I know! So yeah, it's just, oh my God. So yeah, let's talk about this. Okay, so let's talk about this. So there's a lot going on, right? And so I kind of want to go through and do just different things that is happening with here. Obviously, and I'm going to kind of bring Whiteboard Coon a little bit closer to me. There we go. Obviously, we need to talk about Xie Lian. We need to talk about Xie Lian and all the stuff going on with him in these volumes. Like I said at the start here, and that line is horribly crooked. Like I said at the start, MXTX is doing an awesome job of making our being like super complex and layered. And Xie Lian is 800 years old. So I'm going to put this up here, you know, he's had a lot of time to think about what he wants to do with himself. And so I think that's going to be a big point to touch base on. But then I want to talk about Jun Wu. We're going to put Jun Wu up here. Don't have a lot to say about Jun Wu, but we're going to talk about him. And I know you can barely see that, but y'all know what I'm talking about when we get up there with him. And then I also want to talk about, we'll do it in purple, Mu Qing, and Nanyang or Fang Xin. We'll put Nanyang up here, or FX, right? We'll put them there. They're an interesting duo in all of this. And then, of course, you know, we have to have our Crimson Rain Sought Flower. We're going to have Hua Cheng right here. Oh, my gosh. Did you miss me? Oh, my gosh. I was like, the moment he got on the phone, I was like, oh, Hua Cheng, you're doing so many good things. I just love how terrified everyone is of him. They are utterly terrified, and it is glorious. So, yeah, so let's just talk about this. So everybody is starting off as soon as we jump right in where Xie Lian's like, I don't want to fight you, Chanchu, because if we do, I will kill you. Like, let's just be real. And everybody's saying that Xie Lian is arrogant for not challenging Long Chanchu. Like, it's beneath him. But I love that the Windmaster defends Xie Lian, saying, and I love that the Windmaster is like, look, let's think of this, right? There has to be a reason, right? The Windmaster, I'm going to put just WM here, says that Xie Lian did not destroy the family out of revenge. Now, we go to the dream where Xie Lian says, you all deserved it. And so, what do we make of that? And I have a feeling that this story is far from over, right? We're just getting the hints of it, right? Where Xie Lian's like, you all deserved it. So, but the Windmaster makes a really good point. He's like, well, Xie Lian, regardless, he's like, Xie Lian did not probably do that out of revenge, because if it was out of revenge, you would think you'd want to destroy the crown prince because that's the heir to the throne, right? So why didn't he kill Quan Chu? Why did he let Quan Chu kill him? And then now that he's back, he's been around Quan Chu so much and hasn't done anything. So why is that? He's like, you'd think if he was after revenge, he would have tried to find a way to kill Quan Chu, but he ended up defending him against Ming. So why is that? So the Windmaster's saying, we don't know the full story. We need to wait and know more. We can't just condemn Xie Lian. The Windmaster's being a good friend, which I like that a lot. We'll talk a little bit more about Xie Lian as we go through here. But yeah, the Windmaster says that it's not, it's not like, it's just not like what people are saying. And then Pei Ming shows up. Pei Ming's just like, he shows up like, bitch, you didn't see the last of me, and like bursts in with the tea. There's just something about, we haven't had a lot of time with Pei Ming yet, but his character is fascinating because he's a womanizer. He's had this like mysterious air about him, and he has shown up like several times now just to stir the pot and be like, y'all been condemning my descendant, now I'm just gonna throw a fit about it. Like, it's great, right? It's great. Pei Ming just shows up. Pei Ming is not going to let us forget about Pei Jr., and you all can't see that, so that's just awful. But yeah, I'm going to put down, just right out here to the side, Pei Ming stirring the pot, right? And him being like, well, what about Pei Jr. and him getting banished? Like, what's up with this? And I love the Windmaster. The Windmaster is like, look, we saw Pei Jr. confess. I saw his crimes. He confessed. He clearly was guilty. Let it go. But then Pei Ming fires back being like, well, Xie Lian just confessed. And Lan Chanchu saw him commit the crime, so how is it any different? And Windmaster's like, they are totally different things. Leave my friend alone. And so it's great. I just love that Pei Ming swings by for a hot 2 pages just to stir the tea, and then he just disappears into the shadows, like going, Pei Jr. Like, justice for Pei Jr. just disappears. It's the best thing. I live for these moments where Pei Ming like just inserts himself into the plot just long enough to cause a scene, and then he inserts himself into the plot, and I'm done. I'm done. Mine's out of the gutter. So I'm pretty amped up from these chapters, if you can't tell, right? So I just love, it was the cat meme. It's the cat meme where Xie Lian is just holding Windmaster back being like, you don't even know. and then the cat, and Pei Ming's the cat over in the corner against the salad. I will put this on Twitter in the Discord, images of this, because it's now stuck in my brain and I freaking love it. So yeah, there's that. But anyway, Jun Wu, in the midst of all this, just saunters up with his big dick energy, as I said in the reaction, and is like, hey, we're going to stop this right now. He's like, no, Xie Lian does not, he's like, Jun Wu has very much Lan Wangji vibes in this moment, because he's like, he says, we can't judge the situation until we know the full story. Xie Lian does not want to tell the full story. So, no, I'm not going to banish him. Jun Wu is like, I'm not going to do what either of you want me to, because we don't know the full story. Both of you are trying to get out of this without the full story coming to light. And Jun Wu's like, I'm not having that, right? And Jun Wu's like, I'm not going to let Lan Chanchu duel you, because that's a stupid idea, and Xie Lian's probably right, you'll probably die. And Xie Lian, I'm not going to banish you, because you need to tell the full story, and you're choosing not to. So his solution is that he's going to detain Xie Lian and then question privately later, right? So I was like, as soon as he said that, I was like, doing a private interrogation, Jun Wu? What? In this beautiful palace that you've given Shan Li? What? I was just like, Jun Wu just wanted to go woo his crown flower prince later and then have him tell the full story, like under private doors, like X vibes, total X vibes. That's what I'm getting. Like, he just wanted to go and speak one-on-one with Xie Lian because, like he had the power to do that. I'm like, and everybody's kind of stunned. Like, the Heavenly Emperor, the one who has authority over all, is favoring Xie Lian because that's exactly what it looks like. And they're all like, is he still got feelings for him? And we're like, We, the audience, are like, I think so. Or at least that's my thoughts in all of this. But Xie Lian, I like that he lets the guards take him. And then I like that he tells the Windmaster, he's like, hey, he's like, can you do me a favor? Can you do me a solid since I'm about to go and be detained? And the Windmaster, of course, who in the last volume was all like, oh, let me repay you. He's like, oh yeah, anything you want. And Xie Lian's like, can you take care of my kids? And he just, again, we've talked in the comments in the Discord about how Xie Lian and Hua Cheng are not really great parents, and they're not the best of parents. It's not that they're bad or anything, but they're just not very parental. And here Xie Lian's like, hey, I'm going to be possibly in jail for a while. Can you take care of my kids? Here you go. And the Windmaster's like, I don't know how to take care of kids, but okay. I just imagine the Windmaster, because yeah, he's like, oh, I can take care of Long Ying. Fine, he's somewhere in the chambers. I can get him. Who's the other one? He's like, oh, Banyu. He's like, well, what's her situation? I've kept her in a pickle jar at my shrine. Can you go air her out? I love that. He's like, can you go like pop the lid open and let her air out for a few hours and then put her back in? And then the Windmaster's just, I mean, I guess. I really hope that when Xie Lian, because I think this will happen, Xie Lian will get back to the shrine at some point. And what I want to have happened is that when he gets to the shrine, the Windmaster has gone down there and is appalled by the state of the shrine and is like, this will never do. And glamps it up. And Xie Lian and Hua Cheng get there and they're like, oh God, this is too much. And they just like deconstruct it. I just expect that to happen, that the Windmaster will be like, this shrine is not fitting for my friend, and tries to glam it up. That's just what I'm picturing will happen if he goes down and does that. Or he'll take Banyu with him because he's like, she can't stay in a filthy, lousy place like that. Like, I'm just imagining the Windmaster as a babysitter is hilarious. And now I have the headcanon of the Windmaster and Ming Yi, like, babysitting these two. And Ming Yi's just sitting there like, why are we doing this? And Windmaster's like, my friend said we have to. I owe him a debt. Like, I want all the fan art of the Earthmaster and Windmaster babysitting Lan Ying and Banyu. I want that so bad. I'm sure it's been drawn. And if not, someone needs to do that. But yeah, so Xie Lian goes back to the beautiful palace that he's gave him and he promptly passes out. he's like just done. Too much energy wasted. Can't do anything more. And so then he dreams. And his dream is basically of a flashback. Now, again, this is a dream. So this is a dream that Xie Lian's having. So do we take it as MXTX giving us a flashback of what's happened in the past? Yes, I think that we should. But again, MXTX has told us that Xie Lian is not a reliable narrator. So the fact that this is a dream, is this what Xie Lian is projecting as what's happened? Should we take it with 100%, truthfulness? Is there stuff that maybe Xie Lian is being kind of like exaggerating about? I don't know. Did he actually kill a family? That seems to be the case. And that's what I'm going with. If we find out later on this is like a bait and switch and it's not totally what happened, I won't be surprised. That's what I'm saying. I believe that this is MXTX's way of doing a flashback and showing us what happened through his dream. But if we find out later that there are some parts that were skewed in that dream that aren't quite accurate, I won't be surprised. Because again, Xie Lian is an unreliable narrator, and this was a dream, right? So what can we do? But he has this dream. And so he's at the palace as the Goshi, and we get some startling differences. So again, if we're looking at the timeline of things, and I keep going back to this timeline because I think it's relatively important, right? So we have 800 years ago, 800 years, and that marker is almost dried up. So we're going to switch over to this color here. So we have 800 years ago that we had Xie Lian. He ascended the first time. The A1 steak sauce happened. He ascended the first time, right? And then at some point, he was demoted, right? And so my theory is that during that time of his demotion, I mean, during this time, we have the White Calamity and the fall of Shanle. So the fall of his kingdom, the White Calamity, all this bad stuff happens. And Xie Lian is demoted shortly thereafter, right? So then I would say that Xie Lian goes through a very depressing time. And during that depressing time, he becomes the Gyoshi of Yong'an. Okay? During that time, along with Chonchu. So during that time, he's become that. And then we have, like, we don't know the timeline past this point. So I have a feeling, I think Anime Annie was asking about it, being like, you're eventually going to have Conspiracy Board Sama. I really do. I think that by the halfway point of this series, by like volume 4, I'm going to need to bring out Conspiracy Board Sama and just have like a timeline and being like, okay, here's all the things happening. And I'll just look like Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and it's fine. But yeah, so I'm imagining that while he was the Goshi, it shows that he was dressed in black. So in his dream, as a Goshi, he's in black, which is not at all like how he's been dressed this entire series. And we've established that white is more like mourning clothes, right? That people wear white when they're in mourning, not black necessarily. In Western culture, you wear black when you're mourning, right? But in Eastern culture, it's white. So here he's wearing black, and he has the mask that he wears is described as heavy and cold, and his personality matches it, right? So I think personally that Xie Lian, I think that he was going through an era of anger and being upset, because, I mean, he went from being a 17-year-old who ascended at such a young age, had all these merits, all of this power and wealth, and was probably very much like Lan Chanchu, and kind of like just reveling in the justice, and I'll be the savior of my people, and blah, blah, blah. And then when he lost it all, when he fell hard, and then was demoted on top of it. So not only does he not have a family, he doesn't have a home, doesn't have his godhood anymore, he's just a nobody. And he went from somebody at the top of the world, this young, bright-eyed 17-year-old that thought he knew it all, to having nothing, and probably being responsible in some regard for it, or thinking he's responsible. And what does he do? So, I mean, a blow like that would be so hard to your personality, to your ego, to everything about you. It would be identity shaking. So my theory is that when he became the Goshi, he was trying to give back to a kingdom. And that makes sense with the last set of chapters where we talked about how Yong'an originally said they were going to be different than Shanli. So he's like, okay, I can be part of something new and something different. And then it all went back to the way it was with Shanli. And so he's like, So something happened, obviously, in that time frame. But he also shows that it describes him as distant and stern. Like he sounds like, it's like his teen years were all great. Now he's in his mid-20s. He's upset and frustrated, right? And so he's distant and stern. But Lan Chanchu is 14 or 15 years old and is bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and just bound and determined to break Xie Lian out of his shell, right? Out of his funk, right? But I like that they established that he was distant and stern and had an air of fear about him, that people were fearful. Because again, Xie Lian is insanely strong. He was a martial god. He was insanely strong. He was a good swordsman. He was very talented. He had all these good features. And just because he feels bad and is in despair does not mean those talents have gone away. He's still powerful. He's just in a really bad funk. So yeah, Lan Chanchu wants him to teach him the technique that saved him. So we established in the last set of chapters that he became the Goshi because he saved Chanchu, and Chanchu decided he wanted to make him his swords teacher. So the sword move, this part's so fascinating. The sword move that saved Lan Chanchu twice now. It saved him the first time, and then Xie Lian saved him again with it in the present time, right? And so Lan Chanchu wants him to teach him that technique. And also, so at this point, Xie Lian's like, no, I'm not going to teach you this technique. You're the crown prince. You don't need to know this technique. And we find out that it's not the fact that it dissolves or averts attacks, but it absorbs them. And he's like, the crown prince does not need to be absorbing attacks and hurting himself. He's got bigger fish to fry, right? So we get this story. This story is very interesting, where Xie Lian, he says there are two people fighting. So there's two people fighting for food. That's the story. And you are the third person who interferes. You want to stop the fight. What can you do to stop it? You have two people fighting for food. How do you stop the fight? And so his reasoning is that you can't, he's like, in attacks are absorbed, not dissolved. And so he tells the story about how in order to stop them from fighting, what you have to do is the third party has to give them food to satisfy them. He's like, you can't fight both parties. It's not going to work out. It's 2 against 1. You'll lose. So in order to stop the fight, you need to give food to both parties, give them what they want, both sides, and then they'll stop fighting. Problem solved. And he's like, and the attack, but he's like, that's not how this attack works. It's not like that situation. In this, the attacks are absorbed and the user suffers. The user suffers. So he describes it as to stop an attack by hurting oneself is foolish and should only be at a last-ditch effort. So it's foolish and a last resort. So yeah, he's like, which is so funny because Xie Lian just jumps in to do it. But again, Xie Lian does it as a last resort. He doesn't feel like he has anything left to do. But it's kind of funny in that moment because present day Xie Lian has no qualms with self-harm. Present day Xie Lian does not care if he hurts himself or if he doesn't view it necessarily as foolish. So it's interesting seeing Xie Lian's mindset kind of stay the same, but also change as time has gone on. Because while he was the Goshi, he said that absorbing attacks where the user suffers is a foolish endeavor and you shouldn't do that. It should only be if you have no other option. But in present day, hundreds of years later, we see Xie Lian do it quite often and volunteer to do it. So there's been a change in mindset, right? And again, all of this is happening before the second ascension, the A2. As far as we know, it's happened before then. Could be wrong, could have happened afterwards, but I think it's happened before, right? So we'll see, right? But yeah, he's like, this would be foolish. And so he's basically, what he's saying about the user suffering as being a last resort, it kind of ties to the answer that Lan Chanchu gives right after that. He's like, well, then wait a minute. He's like, so you're saying that this attack that you don't want to teach me, it absorbs all the damage, it hurts you, and it should only be used as a last resort, right? And Xie Lian's like, yes, you are someone that does not need to use it. And Chanchu says, well, okay, well then what about the story you just told? Because you said that the two people fighting over for food, that if you give food to satisfy both sides, he's like, well, what if that doesn't work? What if both sides take your food and want more? He's like, what if they want more and then they come at the third party and you don't have, they get greedy and they come to the third party wanting more and you don't have anything to give? Then you're stuck in the battle now too and you've only made it worse. And Xie Lian's like, well, then what does that mean to you? And he's like, if that were the case, then the third party should not have interfered. Then the third party should never have gotten involved to begin with. And that is something that transfers over to a lot of different things. So then this was when Lan Chanchu was like 14 or 15. We know 2 years later is when Xie Lian attacks the family at the banquet. So something's happened in between those 2 years. Something's made him attack. So the question is, this line about the third party should not have interfered, it intersects in a lot of different ways. So it's suggesting that maybe, on the one hand, Xie Lian got involved with the family of Yang In, and maybe there were two sides fighting. Yang In was fighting with somebody else, and Xie Lian tried to interfere, and it just led to the point where he had to kill the family there's that, which goes back to this story. There's also been the several times in volumes 1 through 2 so far that Xie Lian has inserted himself into the situation, and Hua Cheng, Fang Xin, all these others have said you don't need to be involved, and he's gotten involved, so that ties back to this. It's almost like Long Chunshu is saying, well, you can't solve the problem, so why even get involved? But that seems to go in direct contrast to everything Xie Lian's been about since the beginning of the story. So it's very, very interesting, right? That they shouldn't have been involved from the start. And you can tell that Xie Lian doesn't answer that. And so, yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense, but we've seen that Xie Lian has kind of been in direct opposition of that mentality the entire story. So what do we do with that? So that's very interesting. I feel like that story is going to come to light over and over again in the rest of this. I feel like it's one of those scenes that it's going to get more and more context as we go. But that's fascinating. And so then we cut to this point of view where Xie Lian sees himself killing the family and killing the king and everyone. And it seems to be surprise. Seems to be a surprise attack. And he's like, you all deserved it. So there's so many questions with that. Like, why? Why did they deserve it? Why did it take Xie Lian so many years before he decided to punish them? Why did he decide to punish all of them? Why did he not kill Quan Chu? Why did he let Quan Chu supposedly kill him? How did he get out of the coffin? What happened afterwards? Did that have something to do with his second ascension? What ended up happening? Again, this whole incident is shrouded in mystery, but we've gotten just enough details to drive us crazy until MXTX decides to like give us more. Why not? Sure. Okay. But yeah, what happened? And so Xie Lian hears people walking up. And what I like about Xie Lian is that he knows people by how they move. He knows people by how they move. And you know what the craziest thing is? That's a thing. That is so a thing. Because I have 2 coworkers that I work with. This doesn't apply to everybody, but I have 2 specific coworkers that they walk a certain way that when I'm at work and my office door is open and I can't see them, but I hear their footsteps and I know it's them. Every time. I just instantly know. I'm like, that's them. I'm like, that's that guy. That's that woman. And you just know. And then they turn the corner and there they are. And I'm like, and it's how they walk. And so that is a true thing. And I love that Xie Lian's very perceptive about that. But the way he describes Jun Wu and Hua Cheng is intriguing. He says that Jun Wu is unhurried, which is so true because he doesn't show up to stop the kidnapping. I was fully expecting Jun Wu to show up while Hua Cheng was there, but nope. Doesn't show up. He's unhurried and he has a deep certainty, right? A deep certainty, like the calm of a water, like a river, like a stream, a constant stream. Unhurried, deep certainty, like it's just meant to be there, right? So there's that, like just this strong presence, right? Again, I'm giving Jun Wu the benefit of the doubt, but I'll be honest, I am very intrigued by his character now. I think I was talking with Molly MIGH and I was like, I'm really intrigued by his character these last couple chapters. Y'all were right. He's growing on me, our BDE daddy king Jun Wu. He's growing on me. Still not a shipper of him and Xie Lian, but they're exes. I'll go with that. But Hua Cheng, what's interesting here is that Hua Cheng is nonchalant, and is lazy in his movement, but confident. And it's that confidence and certainty that Xie Lian says is similar between the 2 of them. Our divine churro has a type. And the type is one that's very confident and sure of themselves, because Xie Lian is the exact opposite and not sure of himself and has very low self-esteem and self-worth. So gotta make it up with somebody that's got a lot of that, except the funny thing is Hua Cheng really doesn't. And we'll talk about this at the end of the chapter. He's fooling Xie Lian, and Xie Lian might be catching on with it, and it's just like, we'll talk about it. But yeah, Jun Wu's pretty certain of himself, which is interesting, right? So yeah, Xie Lian tests out the luck, seems to have run out. The dice don't work anymore, except although he says he did instead of 2 6s, he gets 2 snake eyes. Maybe that's what Hua Cheng wanted. I don't know. But maybe Xie Lian just needed to roll the dice, and that gave Hua Cheng all the location he needed to know. The dice are like a tracking device, and he was able to track Xie Lian through the dice, right? And once he touched him, he knew where he was. But yeah, so then we have Mu Qing and Nanyang. We have, I forget his godly name. What is it? I forget his name. His divine name is Shanjin, which is what the chapter was named after. So Shanjin and Nanyang, he shows up, and he shows up first, which it's almost like he showed up to gloat, right? He showed up to gloat. He showed up like he looks like a civil god. I'm going to put that down here. So Mu Qing is described as fair-skinned with thin lips. And he's fair and looks more like a civil god. He looks very posh. He's very posh and very posh and kind of not delicate featured, but he looks very scholarly, which is not like, you think of martial gods being these big, strong men, but Xie Lian, is also very pretty and is a martial god. They call him a pretty boy, though, right? I'm going to make note. They call him a pretty boy. Mu Qing. Call him a pretty boy, and basically shows up and just does not look like a martial god, but he shows up being fair and pale. But it's interesting. He heals Xie Lian, right? So he brings the blue smoke. I think the blue smoke's pretty cool, right? He heals Xie Lian's arm with the blue smoke that wraps around it to heal it. I think that's a pretty cool feature, right? And Xie Lian talks about how Mu Qing is very weird around him. Very weird around him. These two, we're getting more into their characters, right? But so Xie Lian talks about how he wants to hear of Xie Lian's details with the Yong'an family. Now, I said this during the reaction, but I was like, isn't it true that Mu Qing was the one that was the sweeper? Because Fu Yao gets really upset about it. So he was the one that was the servant, and then Xie Lian tagged him along. But it seemed like Mu Qing did not like nobility. He doesn't like nobility. He doesn't like them at all. He actually hates them. And so he doesn't think anybody's trustworthy. And Fu Yao kind of represents that too, right? So it would make sense why he would want to know the details about the Yong'an family dying, because he's like, oh, this noble family got what was coming to them? Tell me more. He's just kind of sassy about it, right? Whereas Fang Xin is not like that at all. So he wants to know about what's happening. He's basically also very tsundere, right? His actions are very tsundere, where he's just he's like a cat. He's like a tsundere little cat. He doesn't want to come up to Xie Lian, and he's constantly snickering and snarking to him. But then when they're by themselves, he's like, here's your medicine, and trying to help him. It's very a weird dynamic, right? Because he chides Xie Lian for, all the things he's been doing, but then he shows up first to help him when nobody else is around, right? And I know people that are like that kind of they're kind of really snarky and kind of sassy, but then when you're by yourself with them, they're like, oh no, that's, it's great, it's fine, we're cool, right? And you're like, why are you different in public? It's so weird. But then Fang Xin shows up, and Mu Qing is like, you're fake. Yeah, he calls Fang Xin fake and feigning loyalty. It's almost because Mu Qing, we established, he left Xie Lian right off the bat. As soon as Xie Lian fell after his demotion, he was out of there. He was like, nope, I'm not hurting my chances to become a heavenly official. Bye. And just got out of there very quickly. Whereas Fang Xin stayed around for quite a while. Fang Xin stayed around for a bit, right? And so Mu Qing is calling him out on it. He's like, you were just sticking around. He's like, you weren't doing it because you were loyal to Xie Lian. That's not the reason. He's like, you left all the same. You ran away. You didn't want to spend your days following a broken man. He's like, you'd like people to think that it's because you couldn't stand his fall from grace, but that wasn't it. Yeah. So he kind of calls out and says that people think that you just could not stand Xie Lian's fall. Like, you were like, my friend, I just can't watch my friend suffer so much. It's just too much for me. He's like, but the reality was that you were tired. You were tired of following a broken man. It wasn't pity. You just gave up. You gave up and ran away too. It's like Mu Qing's like, you want to act like you're better than me by saying that you stuck around beside Xie Lian's side this whole time. He's like, but that's not the case. He's like, you're just as bad as I was. I left when the going was good because I couldn't. It's almost like he's like, I couldn't stand it. He's like, I didn't want to sit there and watch him. So I left. He's like, but you stuck around like trying to be like some kind of like self-righteousness, sticking around him till the very last, right? When he's like, the reality was that you just couldn't take being with this broken man anymore. So it's almost like, it's like Mu Qing and Nanyang, they both feel so badly for abandoning Xie Lian. And the thing about it is that it seems like they abandoned Xie Lian before he became the Goshi. So Mu Qing and Fang Xin, having found this out, probably feel awful because they're like, if we had stuck by Xie Lian's side, he probably wouldn't have ended up like this, and the family of Yong'an wouldn't have gotten slaughtered, and we wouldn't have this whole thing with Chuan Chu. So you can kind of tell that Mu Qing and Nanyang kind of feel bad. They're like, we kind of are responsible for this, and they're just taking it out on each other. They're blaming each other for leaving Xie Lian, which is kind of sweet because it suggests they both care about him, and they both are sad by what happened to him. But they just, instead of talking to Xie Lian like a bunch of normal people, these two are crazy, and they decide to take out on one another. And it's like, are you serious? Are we doing this? And oh my God, the whole thing, the thing that got me, in the book, it is not in all caps. I went back and read it in the book. The text is the same. Same thing, where Fang Xin's like, he's like, the fuck you know? Just like, and they get into a fist fight. But yeah, so they get into a fist fight. Oh my God. They get into a fist fight over Xie Lian, and it's the funniest damn thing. I was like, are you joking? Like, the description of Nanyang punching Mu Qing like a persimmon. I don't know if you have, I have persimmon trees by my house. They stink. They're like, when they fall, they're these little orange fruits and they smell really bad. But if the old wives' tale is that you cut open the seed, and if the little root in the seed, if it's shaped like a fork, it means it's going to be a warm winter. If it's shaped like a spoon, it's going to be a snowy winter and a cold winter. And if it's shaped like a knife, it's going to be icy. That's like the old wives' tale. And so my mother and I check persimmon seeds every fall. But they stink and they are very mushy. So the description that the MXTX gives of just punching the persimmon, it's glorious. I love it. But yeah, they just start fighting each other. And Xie Lian, who can't get a word in edgewise, he's just like, what do I do? He thinks back to how they once were, and thinks back that Mu Qing was once very soft-spoken and polite, and Nanyang was once very obedient and hesitant. And now they are not that at all. Now Mu Qing is anything but soft-spoken and anything but, polite. And Nanyang is not someone that just waits around for orders. Every time we've seen Nanyang since the start of this novel, he's been one that's always been the first to come, the first to show up, the first to be there. So he's no longer just someone that waits in the wings to be told what to do. He takes action. So they're in kind of a weird way. I could see Xie Lian looking at these two when they're not trying to kill each other and saying, oh, well, I've made you a better person because now, Nanyang, you're not somebody that just sits around taking orders. You're a take-charge leader and you do things on your own. And Mu Qing, yeah, you were soft-spoken and didn't want to communicate. Well, now you talk to everybody. So see, he's like, see, you guys leaving me was the better choice in the end. I could just see Xie Lian trying to spin it and making it seem like it was a good thing they left him. And then these two are just sitting there like trying to kill each other and being like, you're wrong, I just see that happening. But yeah, they're just spitting at each other basically and just fighting like neither of them. It's so interesting. And then Xie Lian, is like, I don't know what to do. He's like, he tries to break it up. They're not listening to him at all. He's like, I need to go find a heavenly official before they kill each other and just stop this fighting. Xie Lian's like, I can't take it. So he goes to open the palace doors, and there is one page in the book, and I love it. The one image we get from this time around is right before part 20, and it is of the beautiful door opening and the butterflies, the wraith butterflies cascading in. It's so great. It's so great because, yeah, I love that the palace doors open and they don't take him outside of the heavenly court. Instead, it takes him right to Hua Cheng, him using the distance shortening spell to take advantage of it, right? And so, oh my God, the silver butterflies attacking. I love it. I freaking love it. I just love that they're, you know, when we first met the wraith butterflies, Xie Lian was like, oh, they're just kind of these cute little things. And now we see, no, they're basically like attack butterflies where they just like come in to attack Mu Qing and Nan Yang. So the butterflies, they just zoom around Xie Lian. They bypass him. And they're to attack Nan Yang and Mu Qing. Because I'm sure Hua Cheng was like, you two idiots, you two bakas are making my man sad. So get in your place. Know your place in all this. And so he sends them to attack them. And I'm sorry, but I absolutely died when Mu Qing and Nan Yang are like, they're like, Xie Lian, get behind the shield. They're attacking you. And then they just stop. And Xie Lian's like got a butterfly on his thing. He's like, this was the slow one. He was all alone. I was like... And Fang Xin's like, are you freaking kidding me? He's like, this was the slow one. He couldn't keep up with the group. He's like, don't touch the butterflies. Jun Wu says, do not touch Pei Ming. And Xie Lian's like, I'm gonna touch it. And Fang Xin's like, don't touch the silver butterflies. He's like, I'm gonna touch it. But Hua Cheng grabs Xie Lian and takes him into the darkness. He gets spirited away, right? It's so wonderful. But Xie Lian is taken to a valley that Hua Cheng addresses is not far from the heavenly realm, so he just got them away really quickly. The fact that Hua Cheng can go to the heavenly realm is interesting, and the fact that he has all this power while in the heavenly realm is interesting. And can take Xie Lian away. Because we established when we go to the ghost city or the ghost realm, the gods have no power. But Hua Cheng just waltzes right in to the heavenly realm and just takes him and goes. Like it was nothing. So there is that question of how Hua Cheng has the power to go to the heavenly realm. There is that question. So... yeah, so we've got that to think about. That's something to just keep in the back of your head, like pin it back for later, right? And so Xie Lian's taken to this valley. I like that. And this part is insane. Like, I'm just imagining all of this in the communication array. Like, this part is insane because for Xie Lian, I feel bad for him too because I get migraines. I get really bad migraines sometimes. And if you've ever had a migraine before, like a headache is one thing, like a tension headache or a headache where you're just like, oh, I just feel this dull ache. A migraine is when any semblance of light, any semblance of sound, it feels like a knife drilling into your head. And so whenever I read this part of the chapter where it's describing everyone like yelling into Xie Lian's ear as he's like escaping with Hua Cheng, it just felt like a migraine. I was like, oh, that would drive me insane. So yeah, Xie Lian, he is overwhelmed. He is overwhelmed by the communication array, right? He's overwhelmed by it. Everybody is just yelling in his ear. Mu Qing is just sitting there being like, he's been taken away. Feng Xin's like, he's been kidnapped. Everybody's like, what's going on? What's happening? Mu Qing like just threatens. And the Heavenly Emperor, he's like, the Heavenly Emperor will know of this. That is one curious thing though. Mu Qing is like, the Heavenly Emperor won't stand for this. Just come back. You're afraid to face him or something. And it's like, but Jun Wu is nowhere to be seen. Jun Wu does not do anything. Doesn't do anything. He doesn't even show up, doesn't have a word in edgewise, which is curious. It almost feels like at this point that Jun Wu Because you have Jun Wu, who's the Heavenly Emperor of the Heavenly Realm, and you have Hua Cheng, who is the ultimate, as far as we know, the Ghost King of the Ghost Realm. They're both like at the top of their ladders for each of their respectable realms. But it seems like Jun Wu is kind of bound by the rules set in place, and he can't really do anything. He can't go off and do exactly what Hua Cheng just did. He can't go off and just whisk Xie Lian away. He has to stay there and do his job. Whereas Hua Cheng just goes anywhere he wants, does whatever he wants. If you got a problem with it, you can come fight me. Come at me, bro. Like, that's just Hua Cheng's thing. So it's curious, you have these two people at the highest positions of power. Hua Cheng is free to go anywhere he wants to as a ghost. Jun Wu is bound by the Heavenly Realm and to stay there no matter what. So it's curious the differences between these two at this point. So it seems, right? Jun Wu's absence at the end of this chapter, to me, seems a little suspicious, but I have a feeling we'll get to know more as we go, right? But yeah. So of course, and then Hua Cheng is just like, what of it? Have him fight me. Come at me, bro. What you gonna do? Like, Hua Cheng, everyone in the communication array is like trying to yell in Xie Lian's ear, and Hua Cheng's like, y'all need to leave my boyfriend alone. Get out. And so Hua Cheng, I love that he taps his forehead and he's like, let me talk to him for like 2 seconds. Right? And he tells him, he's like, everyone is loud in his ear. It's chaos. I love that in the moment, like, everybody's trying to figure out, like, Ling Wen's trying to do research. Everyone's trying to find out all this information. The Windmaster's just sitting there making it rain while it's going on. Like, it's just chaos. And Xie Lian's like, I need to say something, but I don't know what to do. And Hua Cheng's like, no. He's like, that's fine. He's like, let me take care of this. And he says, like, 3 things. He's like, hey, did you miss me? You got a problem? Want to challenge me? And it's just like silence. Like the chaos instantly dies. And that is, again, it's that power that Jun Wu has and that Hua Cheng has. Because Jun Wu could silence everybody in the court. And so can Hua Cheng. And it's like, what do we do? And so, yeah, and nobody challenges him. Nobody wants to accept it. Everyone is, and here's the thing, everyone is confused. They're like, why did Hua Cheng come to get Xie Lian? They're like, does he have a grudge against Xie Lian? And I'm like, no. I just love that. It's like, no. But everybody's like, everyone, the Heavenly Realm thinks that Hua Cheng might have a grudge against Xie Lian. Why would he kidnap him? Why would he take him away? And if the Windmaster's like, the Windmaster is probably, here's the part that is the most frustrating, is the Windmaster's probably thinking, oh no, I caused his Paradise Manor to be destroyed, and now he's taking it out on Xie Lian. It's all my fault. And it's like, Windmaster, he does not care about you at all. It is not your fault. Would not have made a difference. Not even thinking about you. But Hua Cheng is like, that should get us some time. He's like, I threatened, I got him to shut up, and now they're going to be sitting there thinking about what to do, but they're going to leave us alone for a while. So, mission accomplished. I love that he goes, don't mind them. Don't mind them, Xie Lian. They're going to be quiet for a while. I've done my part, right? But then here's the thing. He had to put his fingers on Xie Lian's forehead to make the communication array work, and he had to grab a hold of his wrist to take him away through the door. But then once he's done these 2 things, he's instantly like, oh, nope, not fit to touch you, not fit to worship the ground you walk upon, but no, can't touch you anymore. And Xie Lian, of course, we were talking about this, I think Anime Annie pointed this out, and I didn't say this in the comments, but Xie Lian it's so ironic. He's a character that is so dedicated to creating communication between others, to analyze and find out the utmost truth and wholeness to a story. And ironically, he's the one that often is the most confused or oblivious of what's going on. He's the one that gets miscommunicated, and he's the one trying to push for communication. So it's this interesting dynamic, right? But him letting go quickly, Xie Lian, he freezes because he's like, this is all my fault. And so then Xie Lian, he's like, why did I think Hua Cheng would rescue me? Why did I think I needed to be rescued? That's the thing. Xie Lian's like, why did I need to be rescued? He's like, I was ready to be banished, right? Like, Xie Lian's like, am I doubting myself? Like, I was ready to get banished by Jun Wu. Why did I think he was there to rescue me? He's like, he has no reason to rescue me. So Xie Lian, Xie Lian, he does not think he is worth saving. He's like, this is all my fault. He goes, he makes the comparison that he had caught, he's like, I put the Paradise Manor on fire. He's like, doesn't Hua Cheng want revenge for that? He's like, he captured and interrogated the Earthmaster. And so he draws back to that story, but he's like, Hua Cheng had a reason to interrogate the Earthmaster, right? So he makes the comparison. He's like, well, Hua Cheng took the Earthmaster to interrogate because there had been wrongdoing, right? So he's like, he took the Earthmaster away, went and interrogated him because the Earthmaster was doing something bad. He was spying on him. So he had reason to interrogate him. So now he thinks that he's doing the same thing to him because he's done something wrong too. He's like, well, he's taking me away to go interrogate me because I've done something wrong. So he thinks it's the same situation, right? He's like, why did I think he was rescuing me? And it's like, well, you should trust your gut, Xie Lian, because that's exactly what's happening. So he wants to take responsibility. He's like, I feel guilty. I feel ashamed. He's like, I need to take responsibility and apologize. And so he tells Hua Cheng, he's like, I'm so sorry for everything. And I felt bad for everything. And Hua Cheng is like, why did you feel bad? He's like, what are you talking about? Hua Cheng has no clue what he's talking about. He's like, what? So Hua Cheng does not blame Xie Lian for Paradise Manor's burning, which we, the audience, were like, he just told Xie Lian a few chapters ago, he's like, this place is just a residence. It has no meaning for me. I literally made it to get you to come here to show off to you that I'm cool. And he's like, I gave you an armory to show you how much I care about you. He's like, but other than that, I don't care about this place. So it burning is, he's like, at the end when we see him standing alone amidst the flames, he's not upset and sad because that Paradise Manor is gone. He's upset and sad because Xie Lian's not with him anymore. That's what the thing is, right? And so it's kind of funny, but yeah, Xie Lian is convinced that he's just going to get interrogated the same way the Earthmaster was because he's done wrong, and so he apologizes. And Hua Cheng's like, no, you have nothing to apologize for. And then Hua Cheng kind of gets mad. Like he's like, why are you apologizing? He's like, I'm the one that hurt you. And it's like, oh. So Hua Cheng, he took Xie Lian away so he could apologize and atone. He was rescuing him. He stepped in, went to the heavenly realm to take him away in front of the emperor and everyone else because he felt bad that he was hurt, that he hurt Xie Lian and felt like it was his fault that Xie Lian was going to get demoted because Xie Lian's like, well, I'm going to get banished anyway and I'll find a way to pay you back. And Hua Cheng's like, pay me back. He's like, no. He's like, I should be paying you back because I got you hurt. And it's like, you two bakas, you two idiots. Really? He's like, it's my fault. I hurt you, not the other way around. And Xie Lian just doesn't get it. And Hua Cheng's like, Hua Cheng, the way that it describes his eye is bright, it almost seems like Hua Cheng was about to cry. He's like, no, he's like, I hurt you. I did something really bad. Because that's true. Whenever he went to attack Xie Lian absorbed the attack and hurt his arm. Hua Cheng's like, I hurt my God. I hurt the person I worship. He's like, I'm the one that needs to atone. So that's why I figure like he's taking Xie Lian away to atone for his sins. It's like, okay. And Xie Lian's like, I don't get it. But then he looks over to Pei Ming. He thinks that Hua Cheng is shaking, but it's not that he's shaking. It's that Pei Ming is like a bawling child. He is like a bawling child. Like a child that is super, super sad and crying. Because not only, I feel like Pei Ming is like the emoting of Hua Cheng. I feel like Pei Ming is Hua Cheng's emotions in this little scimitar. And he's just like, whenever he's super happy to see Xie Lian, he's like, oh yeah, I'm super happy to represent his emotions, his inner emotions. And now he's bawling because he feels sad because he's hurt the man he loves and feels like he's responsible. Meanwhile, Xie Lian didn't even think about his arm. He's like, oh yeah, my arm was hurt, but it's fine. It's all good. But your palace, it's like, you two are idiots, but I love you both and you deserve to be together. right? So this is interesting. So Xie Lian being Fang Xin or Fang Xin is curious, and the fact that he actually killed Quan Chu's family, it makes sense why he was fine seeing Quan Chu, because he's like, well, it's been 600, 700 years. He's like, bygones be bygones. He's like, Quan Chu doesn't know who I am, so it's okay if we just are together in the same situation. He's like, it's fine. You know, he's a god now. I'm a god now. It's all good. It's all in the past. We can't change the past, so we just got to keep moving forward. And he's like, as long as he doesn't know who I am, it'll be easy peasy. But so there's that. That explains things a little bit now, why it wasn't so awkward and why Xie Lian, the whole thing with Manhua and Xie Lian skirting around the subject, it still reads kind of weird from volume 1, but it also suggests that Xie Lian is not afraid to lie. And he tells lies to himself quite often, which is kind of sad, right? But then Hua Cheng is all about chaos. He's all about, he's not afraid to slaughter an entire ghost den. So this whole thing with the Yong'an family, Hua Cheng would probably be like, well, they deserved it, right? You just did what you had to do, right? It's okay, boo. I support you. Like, I just picture Hua Cheng being totally fine with it. Like, just like, you did what you had to do. It's fine. They probably did deserve it. I love you. I just feel like him supporting him no matter what, right? In all of his decisions, because he's just that devoted. Whereas Xie Lian's like, it's in the past. We don't need to dwell on it anymore, but I'm not going to lie about it. I'll own up to it, what I did. So that's interesting. But yeah, I'm very curious to know. I feel like where in the world is Hua Cheng taking him? Like, is he taking him back to the ghost realm, I assume, to keep him out of the reach of the heavenly officials? What is he going to do with him now? Where are they going to go? What are the heavenly officials going to do? What's Windmaster going to do with Manhua and Long Ying? So at this point, I have no idea what's going to happen. None whatsoever. The Earthmaster's back up in the Heavenly Court, so they're not hanging out with him. It's literally just Hua Cheng and Xie Lian. What I would like is for the two of them to talk about their pasts. That'd be great. We have Xie Lian with the bandage boy on the cover. I would really like for Xie Lian to have a conversation with him about the past and maybe connect the dots and realize that Hua Cheng is that kid. That'd be great. But I don't know. So next week we won't have a Manhua chapter because it does every 2 weeks. So I may read ahead. I'll tell you all about it. I'll ask the Discord to double check. Well, I won't have to double check for spoilers because I'm not looking at the Manhua. I'm reading this. So I may read ahead a little bit. So I may not have a lot of comments next week. We'll see. But I may have to read ahead chapters 48 through 50 and just see what happens. But in any case, I'm very curious to know your thoughts down below. Please no spoilers, no hints or clues. But I hope you all enjoyed this reaction and discussion. Lots of things happening, and now that Hua Cheng and Xie Lian are alone again, I'm really excited to see what's going to happen. There's no kids to get in the way now. It's just the two of them. So no kids, no heavenly officials, just the two of them. So what we going to do? Guess we'll find out. So I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more Heaven Officials Blessing. Bye.